Today, we're going to talk about how you can enter a room at any event when you don't know anyone and have a conversation with anyone you want and walk away with a great social engagement and maybe even a few potential new friends. So, to start off, when you're going to an event where you don't know anyone and you're trying to make friends, you're trying to be social and start building a social network, you want to select the kind of events you go to properly. So, of course, you want to go to an event that you have some affinity, some interest in what the event is about. So maybe it's a networking event where you work in that industry or you want to work in that industry. Maybe it's a board game night and you like board games or trivia, something like that. So you want to make sure that the event that you're going to is one where you have a natural interest in what is going on and you have something at least somewhat in common with the people that are already there. And here's a trick that really helps in selecting the kind of events that you go to when your purpose is to make friends. Go to the sort of events where you can generally assume most of the people there don't know many other people either and are there for curiosity's purpose, uh, for curiosity's sake of the event. So it can be tough if you're going to an event and you don't know anyone and it's a specific person's birthday and everyone is there because this is a friend they already know and maybe they already know everyone else at the event and you can feel a little bit like an outsider. I'll probably create a separate video about how to have and break into conversations in those sort of moments. It's still not that difficult, but it is a little bit different. It's much easier if you go to events where people are attending because of the event itself and they're there for curiosity's sake, not because this is their friend group and they're just sort of showing up. So things like board game nights at a pub, run clubs, um, let's say networking events, um, book signings, things like that, where the event itself is the interest and the draw that are sending people uh, towards this thing, and not because they already know everyone there and they sort of feel expected to show up. And what's really good about that is that when you go to those sorts of events, people expect to meet strangers. People expect to talk to new people. It doesn't feel like you're intruding on conversations, so to speak. So people might come with a plus one or a plus two even, but everyone they come with has the understanding that we're still going to talk to a lot of and we're going to meet a lot of people that we don't know. So those sort of events make this sort of thing easier. So that's sort of the first thing. And so you show up at the event, and if you're not going to do the social node system that I described in an earlier video, I'm going to link it down below in the description box. So you can check it out, where you introduce yourself to the social node of the event, which is usually the event host, and the event host connects you to people at the event. If you don't necessarily want to do that, or you just want to have some extra tools in your pocket, here's how you can approach a person or a group of people sort of cold and start like a great conversation. So it's very easy and it's very direct, especially when you are in situations where people expect to meet strangers. What you do is you go up, you can go up to a person or you can go up to a group, and this can be a group that it's easier if the group is a little bit open. So, like maybe there's like a little bit of a gap in between the space that you can sort of slide into, or the people are sort of like turned outwards towards the room and not necessarily intense conversation with each other. But honestly, even if this is like a group of people and they're like talking and engaging with one another, you can still do this. Again, especially if it's the sort of event where uh, it, people expect to meet new people. It's not like a family function. Just go up to them and you say, and you smile and you're like happy, you're like trying to look people in the eye and you say, "Can I join?" 99.999% of the time, someone will say yes. Try to make eye contact with one specific person. So, like, you're addressing your question to them. No need to shout or anything, but do try to like maybe have a little bit of timbre in your voice so like your voice resonates and they can hear you, and just ask and smile, "Hey, can I join?" Someone will say yes, and then you walk in and you say, "Great, thanks so much. My name is X, Y, and Z. Um, what is yours?" And then that will create a pause and a moment in the group where everyone will introduce themselves, which is great. Now you're part of the circle. Now you've sort of reset the social engagement in a sense, and now a conversation can restart or begin where you are apart. And there are a couple different ways you can keep the conversation going. One thing after all of the introductions have been done, you can say something like, "Oh, great, awesome to meet you all. What were you all talking about before I walked in?" Amazing. Now you're just starting that conversation that you just sort of entered into all over again, and it's something that people are obviously engaged enough to talk about. So, um, that is one way to sort of continue. That is one method to sort of, enter into a conversation and keep the conversation going. Uh, if it didn't feel like the group was really talking about anything exciting before you joined, there are a couple follow-up questions that you could ask after. Um, you can say something like, "How did you learn about the event? What brought you out here? How do you know the host?" If it seems like they know the host or they're affiliated with whatever organization is putting the event on. Um, if this is what brought you out here tonight. If this feels like, if it's a sort of event where it's maybe a little bit networking like, or it's affiliated with work in some way, you can say, or it's affiliated with a very niche hobby, you can say, "How did you get started in this hobby?" Or "Have you started in this hobby? Or are you interested in learning more? Is that why you came?" And ask these questions and be interested. Look at whoever is talking to you. Nod along while they're talking just to make sure that they understand that you're following along with them. Be interested um, in what other people are saying. That's a big part of making friends, learning about the uniqueness that is, other people. And you can do this sort of with the group in general, or if it seems like there's one person that's or two people that are more like really engaged with how you're speaking, you can sort of, focus more of your attention on the one or two people that really seem to like want to build that rapport with you specifically. So that's it. That's how you start a conversation. That's how you join a conversation. And then I will move into part two of this video where I'll share a couple of ways you can um, keep a conversation going. Uh, I think I'll probably create a whole another video that goes into a little bit more depth about this, but I'll touch on it here as well. And before we get into that, if you are starting a social network from scratch, whether you've moved to a new city or you've always been shy and you've always had a little bit of difficulty with friends, my Network Social System 30-day challenge is going to launch on April 15th. The link is in the description. And this is a system that gives you a little small action every day for 30 days that takes you from zero to an active friend group social network where you are getting invites out, you are getting plans from other people, you have a group of people to call on to do interesting things. I take you from zero to friend network literally in a month and using all the tools that I've talked about on my YouTube channel, but also a lot of extra things that I can go into a little bit more depth about. Check it out below if you're interested. It launches April 15th, and there is a 33% discount code called Fast Friends for those who sign up before the launch date. Hope to see you in there. Okay, back to the video. So, how do you keep a conversation going after it's started? So, this is one thing I discovered in my sort of uh, engagements out in the world, talking to people, talking to strangers. I make friends everywhere I go. I am totally comfortable talking to, people I don't know now. I was very shy when I was younger, but these days, like I've made friends with girls that I was in an Uber pool with, to people that I met at the nail salon. Um, an easy way to keep a conversation going is, is something that I call the information tree. So someone makes a statement, maybe you ask someone a question and they give you a statement with extra information that is not necessary to answering the question. And I notice that when people do this, it tends to be because they either want to talk about what that extra information is, or they are it's something that's like they're thinking about, they're interesting with, maybe it's rolling around in their mind, and they're kind of consciously or subconsciously interested in sort of sharing it with someone else. So what you can do, so I'll give you an example. Let's say you're at a pickleball tournament event thing, and you can and you ask someone like, "Oh, how did you get into pickleball?" And the person says, "Oh, I saw an ad on Instagram for this event and I thought it was interesting. Since I lost a lot of weight, I have gotten much more interested in group sports." Now, you ask the question of, "How did you get into pickleball?" The person answered the question, "I saw an ad on Instagram." But this piece about, "Oh, since I lost a lot of weight, I've been more interested in like social athletic events," that's not necessary to answering the question. The fact they brought it up, it's something that they're probably interested in talking about. And so then you can ask, like, "Oh, that's so interesting. Are you on a health journey? Or what was the impetus for you to start engaging with social sports, or starting your weight loss journey?" Different things. Of course, be sensitive about everything and be cautious. But because the person brought it up, again, they probably actually want to talk about it. And you'll notice that in these moments, people's eyes light up. It's like, "Oh, great. I get to talk about this thing that I'm so excited about that I couldn't keep it in." And then they'll keep that conversation going. They'll share a lot about themselves. You can ask follow-up questions. You can contribute with your experiences to this topic, et cetera, et cetera. So that is one method of keeping this is like kind of a benchmark method actually of keeping a conversation going. Be an active listener and look out for these extraneous branches on the conversation tree that are not necessary for the linear progression, but people bring out otherwise, anyways, probably because they're interested in talking about it. Second way to keep a conversation going, if you're someone who maybe struggles to think about what next to say, is effectively the opinion share method that I'm coining. So it's instead of just asking a bunch of questions, because that can feel repetitive, that can feel almost like you're interviewing someone in a sense. Share your opinion about something and then ask them to share their opinion about something. So let's say, let's stick with the pickleball example. Um, let's say you are in a park for this pickleball tournament, and you can say something like, "Oh, I love huge athletic events like this. It is so fun to watch other people play sports, even though I'm not that good. Do you like watching sports and in-person sports?" Something like that. Give your opinion first on something and then ask them a question. Sometimes you'll notice when you give your opinion first, the person will like jump in and give their opinion on it without you even having to ask them a follow-up. But this is a good method to sort of keep in mind as you're having a conversation. Like, so maybe the first volley across the conversation is a question. The person answers a question. They have like a little branch of extra information that they didn't need to share to answer your question. You ask a follow-up question based on that branch of information. They share more based on that branch of information. You give your opinion on that topic, and then you ask them a follow-up question. And now you guys are in a flow. You've gone back and forth. A conversation is really happening. So that's a great way of keeping a conversation going. A couple more. I mentioned questions, and asking people questions, comes up very often in how to talk to people. But people don't always share how to ask a good question in a conversation setting. And you want to ask a variety of questions. You want to ask, what did you do last weekend? What is your opinion on this? Do you come to these things often? But the kind of conversations that bring up the most fruitful back and forth engagement with someone are often why questions. You know, um, why did you come out here today? Why did you decide to start pickleball versus tennis? Um, why did you decide to read 100 books this year, if that's something that they share? And that opens up a whole realm of storytelling from the other person. And storytelling and narrative sharing about our lives is a major part, and I would even say the main part of how humans connect. And so that's another great method of keeping a conversation going. Um, and throughout these conversation, another thing I want you to keep in mind is to make sure that you are actively listening, looking them in the eye, leaning in, smiling, nodding where appropriate as you find things that you agree with, like and just like have these little moments of, oh, I totally see what you're saying here, or oh, that's so interesting, that are real and genuine. Don't just like say random stuff. That's not good and counterintuitive to connecting with people. But as you come up with uh, uh, moments in the conversation that it's like, oh, I'm really resonating, share with them, like, oh, I so resonate with that. So these are a couple ways to keep a conversation going. I have a few more here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a whole video that is just about how to talk, how to have a conversation, how to keep them going, and it'll be just about all of this sort of stuff. So I hope this was helpful. Again, I go live I'll be going live, I think, every day for the next month and a half, but I will be going live for sure at 6:30 Mondays and Thursdays. So come with your questions if you have any. I will answer questions live in the chat. Come with your any questions around how to make friends, how to have a conversation, how to be social, how to build a social network. This is something I'm very passionate about, and I'm interested in helping others do themselves. And so, lastly, link in the description box for my 30-day network social system challenge, where I take you from zero to bustling social life in 30 days.